the Asbury Park Press on December 22nd, 2021, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. Take roll call. Councilman Brennan?
Here.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Here.
Mayor Walsifer?
Here.
Councilman McCracken?
Here.
Councilman Carvelli?
Here. Thank you, April. If everybody can join me in saluting the flag of our great nation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everybody can remain standing for a moment for our troops, their families, and all our first responders. Thank you. Okay, first up under workshop, Councilman Brennan has taken on the challenge with his wife, who I know Mary, who did a lot of work with it, but they did such a great job on putting the treasure trail back together, replacing the signs, and updating it for our 150th anniversary. And thank you, Councilman Brennan, for the lead on that. And I'm going to turn it over to him because he's going to show us everything that's on there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If everybody could come down, we're going to use the screen.
Okay. Unaccustomed to public speaking as I am. I'm so nervous. Thank you. No, really, this has been, I'm so excited. It's been more than a year, almost a year and a half, since reviving the treasure trail was discussed as a way to participate in the 150th anniversary of the founding of Belmar. And for those of you who don't know, the Belmar Treasure Trail, the podcast and the walking tour, was originally a project that was done back in 2010 when my wife Mary worked with Carol Davies, who was then the chair of the Environmental Commission, worked with the Historical Society and the Belmar Arts Council to put together this. And then Sandy came, and especially a lot of the large signs, Superstorm Sandy, thank you, Mr. Taylor, that's reminding me all the time. And a lot of that signage was gone. And the Environmental Commission was every meeting a lot for years talking about we need to do it, we need to do it. And having the anniversary of the town really was the impetus we needed to get together, because it was a really big project. And I have a lot of people to thank. So before I even start with this, I definitely have to thank Marshall Boxer and John Savia for their tech and IT input with putting together, switching around domain servers, things like that. Very techy stuff. Eric Einsman from Your Target Marketing, that's the firm that does the Belmar.com website, and he revamped this entire website right here. And I have 3 members of the Environmental Commission I really have to thank right off the bat. One is Krista Sperber, who, if you don't know, she has Grass Creative. She's a very talented designer and artist, and she did this cover picture, which is also the cover of the brochure. She worked to integrate it so it would be the same on the website and on the printed material. I also had to thank Colleen Sullivan-Paulus, who did all the outreach to several of the churches where the Historical Society recommended adding some monuments that weren't in the original tour, and also adding some of the churches in town. And Colleen did handle the outreach to them about did they want to participate and where would they like their sign. That's always a big thing. Where do you want the sign to go? And especially the BEC chair, Ed Lippincott, he had the unenviable task of working with New Jersey Sea Grant to reconstruct those really large signs. 10 years is a long time in the nonprofit world. There was no institutional memory. A lot of people at New Jersey Sea Grant were like, what are you talking about? What signs? And they had to recreate all that art. We had to send them what we had. We didn't have the original art. We just had some PDFs. We sent all that. It took a long time, and it got done. Really huge. Okay, so Here's the Belmar treasuretrail.com website. If you start up here, you scroll down, here's a graphic of the image that's on the brochure. And then here's 4 of it. It was really hard to pick out just 4 of the coolest facts to have a little teaser here. But you know, a lot of that you already know, a lot of this you might already know. Down below here is a little image of the map, but down here are 4 links that I think are really important to, here's our mobile-friendly interactive treasure trail map. That's this right here. What that means is, if you're using your device, your cell phone or your iPad, once you load this map, if you tap on one of the numbers, oh come on, I knew you'd do this to me. Oh, there it is. You should get a little pop-up. There it is, the little pop-up window. What's step number 4? Okay, that's what it is. All right, so that's really nice to have. You can listen to the podcast, and we'll get to that in a second. But here's the 3rd link is something I think is really important. It's download our full podcast script. Maybe not you, but if you know a student who's looking to do some like a research paper or write a report about Belmar, they're fully welcome to download the script, use that information, just make sure you give attribution, and you can use all of that. A lot of it's public domain anyway, so it's all in one place. And then if you don't have access to one of these brochures that we're handing out tonight, you can also download a printable PDF and print your own if you'd like. And then here we go with, before we go to that, on the website is the same list of stops, organized the same way as on the brochure. And down here, I want to get this before we go on. These are our credits. Very happy to have these here. These are all the people who narrated part, at least one, maybe more than one for myself, but these are all the people who helped contribute. And of course, the script was written by my wife, Mary Brennan. I also want to thank Louis Polito from Belmar Public Library. He was also helped us get this launched last year. And his input was very helpful too. So here we go for the podcast here. Now this should open up to whatever app you use on your device. We have it set up to use Apple Podcasts because they're the big daddy. But if you have Google Podcasts or any other podcast app, your phone should just work with that. I wanted to play just a couple. I mean, it was really hard to pick which ones to play for you, but I wanted to use a couple that were real examples of how we wanted to integrate all the different aspects of the information we have. We have historical information, we have a lot of environmental information, and we even have artistic information about some of the artists on some of the stops. But here's one that I really thought was really good. Okay, let me start this one. This is lovely.
This is stop number 15 on the Belmar Treasure Trail, one of the original interpretive signs on our treasure trail. The Treasure Trail series of educational signs was developed by the Belmar Environmental Commission in partnership with the New Jersey Marine Sciences Consortium, New Jersey Sea Grant, and the Department of Environmental Protection. Read the sign to learn some of the legends behind how the Shark River got its name. This is also a good place to mention the residential area you will see across the street. This part of town, historically known as Rhode Island Point, was annexed to Belmar in 1927. Different from the rest of Belmar, this section of town was a seasonal resort with summer bungalows and tents. Centuries before, it was a famous summer colony for the Lenni Lenape Indians who frequented the area for summer camps and called the inlet and river the Nolaquesset.
And that was my friend Dave Taylor. Thank you. And one of the things you can see, when you are looking at this even if it's on your phone, you will see the text of the podcast, but if you happen to tap on the little now playing window, it'll pop up and you'll see a picture of the stop, wherever it is. Let's see, there was one other one. Oh, and by the way, you saw in that picture the lovely framing. I really have to give a big shout out to Bill Musto and Jake Novak from DPW. Those framing and the installation of those signs it couldn't have been better. really couldn't have been better. I'm so happy with the work they did. Really, the part of it just looks so good now that it's installed. All right. Okay, here's another one. One more. There's some really amazing, like, how do they know that? Kind of, oh, I didn't know that. That's so interesting. All those things are in there. Where is it? The Fifth Avenue Chapel. This I thought was, the first time I read this, I was like, oh, this is really wild. I had no idea. Okay, here you go. Let's play this one. You are at the Fifth Avenue Chapel, stop number 35 on the Belmar Treasure Trail. This chapel was originally built as the Church of the Holy Apostles in 1873. By 1940, the frame building, constructed in the shape of a cross, was in poor repair, having been closed for many years and stripped of its furnishings. Its beautiful stained glass windows remained intact, however. The Fifth Avenue Chapel purchased the property for $1,500 and began its ministry here in 1941. If you walk down the block to 316 Fifth Avenue, you will not see a treasure trail marker because it is a private residence, but we wanted to share its history. What is now a lovely home was built in the 1890s as a wellness clinic where city dwellers came for restful rejuvenation at the oceanside. It became known as the Belmar Hospital in the 1930s, continuing as a wellness clinic, but also offering minor medical care. It was renamed Fitkin Hospital when it moved to Spring Lake, and then found a permanent home in Neptune Township, where it has grown into today's Jersey Shore University Medical Center. Wow! I didn't know that. Isn't that wild? Love that, love that, love that. Yes, and where do we find all the information from? That's from the Belmar Historical Society. I really want to thank Pat O'Keefe, Spencer Gould, especially for his contribution about all players, everybody in the Historical Society. And I also have to give a big, big shout out to Borough Administrator Ed Kirschbaum and Bridget Dudas, who's our accounts payable purchasing person. Their persistence, especially when we were ordering these signs and getting that all done, they wouldn't have happened without their help. It was really a big help for all. All right. Okay, one more thing. I told you, it was going to be short, okay? All right, now we're going to, everybody take out your cell phones. We're going to have a little cacophony here. All right, we're going to show you how to use this, right? Now you take out your cell phones. You can tell I'm a teacher because one of the things, if you listen to this one, you're going to have the answer to the question, how many full-time residents did Belmar have when the town was founded in 1872? Okay, take out your phones. You might have to zoom in a little bit on the QR code. Ready, set, go.
25.
Ah, cheater!
I downloaded it.
It's working, right? Yeah, it's working. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cute.
It's a little over 5,000, I believe,
That's right.
all year round.
And how much do the lots go for? Oh. Woo. Isn't that amazing?
That's why mine.
Okay, so we're gonna be having brochures available here at Borough Hall. We're gonna take them over to the library. They'll be available over there. But anytime you see one of the signs, just take out your phone, check it out. Really, and I gotta tell you, I'm really, really thankful for all the help we had. It was a huge team effort, and I'm really pleased with the product. So, if I could have everybody that helped with the project come up, we can get a picture with everybody, that would be great too. All right, all our contributors. Ms. Wilton from the Belmar Elementary School, everybody that had a voice or an input. Harry Horson, come on up. Yeah, Bill, you too. And Mayor and Council, you want to come on?
This is great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Do the face. 1, 2, 3. Get a little closer. 1, 2. Thank you very much. Thanks. All right, now we're going to turn this off. Yep.
Thank you, Councilman Brennan, and everybody that worked on that. That was, I know what a task it was, and thank you so much for getting all that done. All right, under workshop, our business administrator is just going to give us an update on the skateboard.
Thank you, Mayor. A week ago Saturday, I met with a gentleman from the platform company that gave us first initial design, and Bob Lucido and another committee member that we have work on the skate park. We've actually made the footprint a little bit larger. We made it 120 by 140. So the concept design that we had originally, we wanted, and it's not all skatable, but it's going to make the project that much more effective for the beginner as well as the pro skaters. So as of right now, Bob Lucido is working with the committee to get some ideas together for us to go out for a request for a proposal, so we have at least an idea of the scope of the project and the cost of the project. So we want to be able to work on that design to fit the footprint that we now have.
Okay, and I know I've still spoken with Patrick, but before we go out and spend any money to go any further, we're going to go out for a request for bid for different designs and the cost for designs, because we don't, the company in Florida wants some money to redesign it, but to do it the proper way, we're going to go out for a request for bids for designs, and this way we make sure that we're getting the best product for our dollar. So Patrick's is going to get our borough attorney's going to get that drawn up, and in the next couple meetings we'll have we'll send it out so we can get other companies involved, just so we know what we're dealing with. The other thing I want to talk about in workshop, I know most of you know that Ryan DeLeo worked very hard on getting a grant for the firemen for all their Scott packs, I think 31 Scott packs. It was a federal grant that he applied for, worked closely with Congressman Chris Smith's office, and I'm happy to say that we got awarded $223,000 for the Scott packs, and I really got to hand it to Ryan, because just this year alone, with the 2 grants he got for public safety, comes over $450,000. So I really have to congratulate him for going after all those. Anybody else have anything under the workshop? All right, so we'll move on to April 8th petitions.
No, I did not receive any petitions.
All right, approval of minutes for August 16th.
Can I have a motion to approve the August 16th meeting minutes? Motion?
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Abstain.
Councilman McKinney? Yes. Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
All right, reports of council. Councilman Carvelli?
Mayor? Let's see. Well, obviously, we had the clock dedication ceremony. I thought it was very well organized. The clock looks great. The pavers, the plans, everything. So thank you to everybody who was involved with getting that in there. On the 18th, the Finance Committee met. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. However, it was reported back to me that the engineer pretty much went over what he presented here as far as the structure and what it's going to take to bring us up over the next however many years. So nothing new there. Planning Board met on the 22nd. We actually had 3 applications. One was carried, that's the Newman project, and then there were 2 subdivisions, one of which was the first aid building. Both passed, so glad to see the first aid redevelopment going forward. And then the only other thing that we discussed at the planning board was a review of the ordinance regarding pavers and driveways. There was some feedback on that, and I can see that there were some modifications to the ordinance, so that's all we had there. So that is my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council President McCracken.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to thank Councilman Brennan for his presentation on the Treasure Trail and all the volunteers that rebuilt that program after Sandy and modernized it to use today's technology. I think this is really something that makes Belmar an awesome place to live, and I'm always warmed when I learn of all the volunteers who put in such effort to do something really cool like this. Second thanks I want to give is to Mayor Walsper and the team who really organized a nice centennial celebration, 150th anniversary celebration, which was on Wednesday. The clock looks awesome. It improved a part of our town. That really makes it a hallmark for not only residents to be proud to drive by, but visitors coming into town. And I just think that was such a neat vision to have that concept to put in there. Thirdly, I'd like to thank Harry Harsons, our chief lifeguard, Tina Scott, our chief of police, and Billy Musto, our director of public works, for a successful summer and with our beach. Our lifeguard stands are up, our gates were manned, our bathrooms were cleaned, people were protected and felt safe by the constant presence of the police department. So on behalf of myself, who uses the beach, and my wife, and this is my role of being the council, please share that with your staffs. I mean, I really think everybody has a lot to be proud of. Regrettably, we did have a power failure recently that resulted in several systems failures at the Belmar Housing Authority, which included the elevator, and the elevator being out for a period of time. You know, this building is owned by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, but houses several seniors who have mobility issues and maybe on some kind of oxygen or need medication monitoring or assistance. So obviously, anytime something like this happens, it's not only very unfortunate, but you know, puts certain people who are compromised at increased risk. There was a meeting at the Belmar Housing Authority this evening. Residents had an opportunity to voice their concerns, as well as many people from the public. As you can imagine, it was a very emotional issue because this is a very serious matter. So I can assure you that the Administration of the Housing Authority is reviewing policies and procedures and emergency response guidelines to make sure that there is a system to account for multiple system failures in the future, i.e., multiple backups, and all those policies are being reviewed to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. But obviously, for all those seniors who were affected in this building, our heart goes out to you. And anytime something like this happens, we all need to be vigilant, whether we live in a congregate setting or whether we live in our community. We have a police department that's committed. We have a police department that can reach out to the Office of Emergency Management, and those resources can be activated. And we have multiple first responders, paid and volunteers, who can respond to any situation where a resident's livelihood may be compromised and is available to assist them. So please be aware and do not be shy. If you need help, call the police department, and the appropriate resources will get to you so that you can get the help that you need. And with that, Mayor, I think that's all I have to report tonight.
Okay.
There was a letter sent.
Councilman Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've already heard enough from me this evening, but I do have one thing I wanted to share. San Gennaro's coming up, and as usual, Sweet is having their cannoli eating contest. I'm reluctant myself because the last time I tried, it was a dismal failure on my part. I could only eat 6, so I couldn't even get close to the end, and that kid who beat me was just awful. Anyway, so they're running the contest. It's at 12 noon on Saturday of the weekend. The adult division, you eat 10 mini cannolis, kids get 5. You sign up at Sweet for a $20 entry fee, and 100% of it goes to St. Vincent de Paul. And St. Vincent de Paul is an admirable charity. They do so many things for people. You get a Sweet T-shirt and a 10% discount off your purchase, or 10% off of custom orders. And winners will, I shouldn't read this, winners will get $25 gift certificate. I'm never going to get that. And your name on the plaque inside Sweet, and a half pound of fudge and taffy. So sign up now. Thank you. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Guinea.
Thank you, Mayor Walsifer. I also wanted to congratulate Councilman Brennan on what a great, I can't wait to do the Treasure Trail, actually. I'm really excited to go and do it, so I think that's really great. I also want to second the clock dedication. I was so grateful to be part of such a wonderful event. I mean, it was just, the weather couldn't have been better. You did a wonderful job with the clock. Everyone who was involved, DPW and the mayor and the business administrator and the police department, was a really, really nice event. And very nicely attended also to add to another wonderful event commemorating our 150th anniversary. I also wanted to say that the fireworks on Friday were really awesome. I thought that was a really great job with the fireworks. And the Belmar 5 was awesome too. We watched all the runners go by, we cheered them all on. I thought it was a really well-attended run this year too, so that was awesome. Okay, now to business. ADA, our meeting was rescheduled to September 15th because of busy schedules and just people needed to reschedule. So that's next week, September 15th. The Parks Commission and Recreation meeting. The summer programs went very well, were very well attended, better than last year, so that's great. The Luckenville concerts end next week. The Summer Friday concerts are done for the year. The fall soccer sign-up numbers have been a little low. So, but it sounds like other towns are facing the same issue because of travel and school teams. So if you know of anybody who wants to try out or sign up for soccer, starting at, I think, K through 6th grade, so, or even 8th grade. And then the next meeting is September 28th. So that's the Parks Commission and Recreation. And then around the schools, sadly, everyone's going back. So first day of school for Belmar Elementary is tomorrow, as is St. Rose Grammar School. So they're all excited to just have another great school year. St. Rose High School went back today, and they welcomed over 125 freshmen, which is a big incoming freshman class for St. Rose High School. So that's great. And they're really excited. This is their 99th school year, so they are building up towards their centennial celebration next year. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I want to start off by just echoing with Council President McCracken said about our DPW, our police, our lifeguards this summer. Unbelievable job. Everybody did a fabulous job this summer. I really want to thank them. Harry had all the lifeguard stands up. We were fully staffed with lifeguards. We were a little short with the police department, but you know, everybody that stepped up to do, they did a fabulous job this summer. So thank you guys for everything you did. DPW, Billy, you guys did a great job down there too. And DPW and the police department for all you did setting up the clock presentation. I want to thank you for all that. There was two major birthdays that we had since our last meeting. Florence Cafaro turned 100, and Maria Campo turned 102. So I just want to congratulate them on those birthdays, and we wish them a lot of health and happiness. We have a couple things coming up this weekend. We have the Autism Beach Bash coming up. We have the surf competition. Like Councilman Brennan said, San Gennaro is the following weekend, so we have a very busy September. And I think it's all I hear. Oh, Belmar Day, yeah, this Saturday, Belmar Day down at the Taylor Pavilion from 10 to 2. So if anybody wants to come down and see the history of Belmar, it's part of the 150th anniversary. That'll be down at the Taylor Pavilion between 10 and 2. So, and all the different departments are going to have all different things of the history of Belmar over the years. So that should be pretty exciting. And then I think the cake cutting is at 12 because they have a birthday cake for Belmar. So if anybody wants to come down and have a piece of cake. So, all right, I think that's all I have. So we'll go on to public session for any of their agenda items, resolution items on the agenda.
If anyone would like to speak regarding one of the resolutions on the agenda, please step forward and state your name and address.
Mark Pfeiffer, 319 Fifth Avenue. Just the ones. Mark Pfeiffer, 319 Fifth Avenue. The open space grant for Lake Como, is that also going to include McCleary, or are you looking at doing maybe another grant for some improvements to McCleary Park?
That grant is, I don't know if you noticed that Spring Lake did their whole side. So Lake Como was going to do their side, and then we have like a 2-block section of our side that we're going to continue the walkway around and the improvements down there. So we're getting the open space grant just for that section, and then McCleary Park would be another one.
Are you expecting to put that in for this year?
You're talking about for the upgrades for pickleball?
Right, and also we spoke about bocce ball courts.
Right.
We had a nice improvement there.
We're looking at all that because the open space grant's a matching grant. If you put $100,000 up, you have to pay $100,000. So we're checking into the finances. We're hoping to have that, see where we're at. I did do Bill Musto did a great job of looking up for a pickleball court down there. We have the numbers. We have all the quotes in.
It's amazing. It's 35 people are showing up.
Well,
every day. We have 120 people in the Belmar.
I went down there. Of course, I met with you and your crew down there, and we took all our measurements. We're working on trying to get the third pickleball court up. We're trying to do what we can. We got all the numbers in. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I hate to say that, but it's really not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So we're going to work on that. As a matter of fact, I called you on Friday. I left you a message. So give me a shout tomorrow.
I will. Okay. Thanks.
Is that we remove a tennis court?
That's the issue at hand. The tennis courts have to stay. We have 3 courts there. We have 2 pickleball courts. We're trying to actually take an educated make an educated decision on how many people actually are using the tennis courts right now. I can tell you that all my visits down to pickleball court, there's 20 or 30 people actually leaving because there's no more space. So we have to really take a look at that and all the everything that we have down at that clearing lot.
Okay, anyone else on the resolution items?
Can I have a motion to close the public session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
April, I don't know if this is before or after the motion, but I called you today about that potential typo. Was that,
Yes, that was fixed.
that was fixed? Okay, good. I'll make a motion then.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
And then can I have a motion to approve Resolution 2022-156, a resolution authorizing the issuance of a Class C liquor license to Two Dogs doing business as the Boathouse Bar and Grill?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Brennan abstains. Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next, we have second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2022-14. This is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 40 Development Regulations, Sections 2 and Section 9. Yes.
I'm going to make a motion to table this based on our input from the planning board after our first reading of this. They want some technical changes that are just a little bit much for just amending and going to second reading, so I'm going to make a motion to table it and come back when it's ready.
What does incorporate?
No, Councilman Carvelli. Half of it was incorporated, but there were some technical definition changes, which would be an interior alteration to the original ordinance, so we're going to have to revisit it, redraft that aspect of it, and reintroduce on first reading.
Yeah, it's important to get it right. I'd rather get it right and get it done the first time.
Absolutely.
Well, I have that.
Correct, that was a percolation.
So we have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Next is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2022-16. This is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 26, Property Maintenance Code. It's open for public hearing. If anyone would like to speak on it, please step forward, state your name and address. I have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-16?
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next is second reading and public hearing on ordinance amending Chapter 19, Traffic, Section 46 and Section 15. It's open for public hearing. If anyone would like to speak on this ordinance, please step forward, state your name and address. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-17.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
And next is ordinance 2022-18. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 9, Section 7.9 for automatic sprinkler and standpipe system connections. Can I have a motion to offer this ordinance for first reading and introduction with a public hearing at the next meeting, which is September 20th?
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to public session. Anybody have any questions for council? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Rima. I live on 2A Street. I actually was the creator of the COVID memorial that started on Belmar Beach. As you already know, I represent a huge grieving community. So part of that is throwing events that help the community from get together and gather and get through their grief process. One of the things that we've been doing is an annual walk that gathers families, kids, grandparents, anything and everybody. And we have people show up in wheelchairs this year to honor their loved ones. And we do it on the beach, on the boardwalk. Last year we put in for a permit. I put in on January 7th. We wanted the event date to be April 19th. I actually didn't get the permit in my hands until the evening of Friday, April 18th. This year, after our walk, we decided to survey our community, see what they needed from us as far as to help them with things. And one of the feedback was if we can announce events in advance. Most of our community wants to know the events at least 3 or 4 months in advance, because a lot of out-of-staters come to New Jersey to be part of it. So one of the things that we did was recently we tried to put in a permit for next year for April 15th, and we were given the feedback that we can't put in for a permit for next year until January of 2023, which I can understand if that's a policy. However, I'm involved in the community. I do a lot of activities. I love this town, this city. And at the 5K run, they announced next year's 5K already, and they already have their permit, which doesn't make sense to me because we're trying to do everything the right way. So I'm here today to ask you as a council to understand the community that I represent and see if there is any way that we can get our permit sooner. We're willing to follow the rules. We don't disrupt the town at all. Most of the time, it's about 100 people or less, and it's only about 2 hours. We don't make any pollution. If we have any mess, we clean it up before we leave. You know, there's no kind of disruption as far as traffic or anything like that goes, and we intentionally do it off-season so it doesn't disrupt the summer, you know, Belmar town. So I'm here to plead with you and ask you if there's any way we can get that permission sooner, or at least get that date solidified so that way we can notify an actual date to the community.
I can take care of that, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I reviewed everything through tourism, through special events. You had the wrong date.
Yes,
You had the wrong dates when you filed it, so you just gave us the correct date last week.
that's correct.
Right, so that's going to be processed. You don't have to wait till January. We have to have special events meetings, so we have everything planned for the year ahead of us. We're just getting past Labor Day, so I will make sure that I talk to Mary. I've read your email, but I knew you had a wrong date on it. We just corrected it, so we'll sit down and take a look.
Okay, because after we corrected a date, Mary did reply back to us and say that we were to come back in January 2023.
No, we'll take a look at it. Because
Okay.
we're going to hopefully have a meeting within the next 2 weeks to look at every event that we have on the table right now, but we'll take a look at it early.
All right, I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Yes.
First Avenue. Although the fireworks were probably lovely, it might have been a different company that you used. They left major amounts of debris on the beach and on the apartment complex on 7th Avenue. And my brother, you know, lives on 101 7th Avenue, and I'm surprised you have not heard from him because there was at least an hour of cleanup on his property. And then it went all the way back to Susan's house, which is before the Smokes house. So it went all the way back about 5 houses on 7th Avenue. So if it was a different company than you're usually using, I recommend never using it again. If it was the same company, something was seriously not right. It was debris from the fireworks, when the fireworks went off, and it was all over the beach. When I went to the beach the next, you know, when everybody was on the beach, I brought a garbage bag filled with debris away, you know, with the grandchildren there and whatnot. So I'm not sure if it was a different company. I'm not sure why you haven't heard from my brother yet, but I just wanted you to know.
Okay, thank you. We'll definitely take a look into that. I'll check with the people that order those fireworks.
DPW was out at 6:30 in the morning because that was the night of the 5K. So DPW knows they were blowing the debris off the street at 6:30 in the morning.
It was really windy, and the wind was taking all the debris inland.
That was the difference. There was an actual point that we
It was the
We're
same.
worried about not even having the show that night, but they deemed it safe, so we're aware of it, and we'll make sure we
You know,
review.
A lot of residents suffered an hour or two maintenance on their properties because of.
We'll take a look.
Yes.
My name is Eileen Bede. I live at 210 10th Avenue. And I'm really here about 3 months too late. It's about summer rentals. And this was actually the first meeting I was able to attend because of my own work schedule. Right next door to me is a two-family that's been rented winter and summer. I've lived there 18 years and it's had tenants since then. The apartments are built in such a way, the building itself is smaller than my own home, but it legally can hold 16 people. And I cannot tell you how many weekends there have been 20, 30 people there. The entire parking lot is gravel. It's filled with cars, and cars are lined up in the driveway, which I'm told is illegal too in a multifamily. I've called the police a number of times, and they do respond, but the problem is they're on to me and the other neighbors. It got so bad that they would actually leave the house at 10 o'clock to go to whatever bar they were going to, stop in front of my house or a neighbor's house, just start screaming, nonsense and stuff. And then as soon as, a light went on or somebody opened the door, they'd stop and walk away and keep laughing. So to call the police, and they do respond, I have no problem with that, but by the time they get there, it's over. 2 years ago, COVID, it was a nightmare because they never left. They were there 7 days a week. I had to put up $6,000 worth of fence, and even that didn't help. They were told to move their beer pump from the front lawn, which is illegal, so they moved it to the driveway, which is only separated from my driveway by 3 feet. So I really haven't been able to invite family and friends over, for barbecues, because I don't know what's going to go on next door. And even if they're not loud, the language is atrocious. They even had towels this year with the F-bomb on it, hanging up there, to dry over their railings. So I don't know where to begin. I know, code enforcement handles the number of people, and the police, as I said, have been responsive. They've only gotten 1 ticket this year, and I think 2 years ago they got 1 ticket. And but it's just constant. The owner said to me it was my problem for moving next to a rental. I told him I didn't move next to TJ's, But, so I'm just looking for guidance for next summer. Maybe I can get to a meeting before the end of the summer to see where I go, because like I said, the police do respond. I don't have a problem with them. But by the time they get there, it's over. Or, I actually put in a ring this year because of all the times they would stop in front of the house and with their shenanigans. And they saw that, so they actually said something about, oh, don't stop in front of that house. They put a ring up, So this is the kind of thing, it's just very frustrating. And I'm here because I don't know where.
What's the house number that you're complaining?
210. Oh, the house number is 212, the rental.
Can you see me after the meeting?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Hey, Chief, can you maybe have community policing stop them?
They're done now, right?
Well, they're not there now, but
Not yet.
maybe we can, help you out for
Absolutely.
starting
I
the
was just
section.
going through my emails looking to see, I get an email every time the notice complaint is written. But I will definitely check on that.
All right, thanks. Anyone else? Yes, Maria.
Hi, Maria Rondinaro, 20, God, it's late already, 1246 Pine Tree Way. I just returned from the Housing Authority meeting where I heard from residents and the Housing Authority hearing about their power outage and that our seniors and our disabled lost power and weren't able to get to their medication, use their oxygen, and disabled residents were crawling up the stairs. To me is something that is unacceptable. I don't know where the blame is, and I don't care, it doesn't matter. What we know is that there is an issue, and I know the Housing Authority has said that they will address it, but I am coming to you, Mayor and Council, to say, please, we need your help now. These residents deserve better. This may be a federal building, but these are Belmar residents. Thank you.
18th and B. First off, let me say, there is hope for you, because we used to have, on the corner of 18th and B, we had the most tickets across the street from us, and we gave them the best group rental award this year. I was saying, but it was actually a quiet summer on 18th and B, which is totally unusual, so thank you for everything in that respect. September 25th, the last Sunday in September, the New Jersey Run for the Fallen will be running through Belmar. And I cannot begin to tell you how much the family appreciates all that the town does. It's a co-worker of mine whose son is my hero marker is on North Boulevard in Ocean Ave, and it means the world to them to see that flag flying and everything, and everybody who's out there. So, just want to remind everybody, September 25th. I'll let you know the time at the next meeting. It's probably around 9:30 in the morning or so. They haven't pinpointed the time yet. So, and it changes. It could be half hour early, half hour late, depending on how the runners are running. So, just want to give you FYI. Thank you.
We'll make sure the fire truck's out there and the flag's out there.
Great. Thank you all.
Claire,
Yes.
Claire, can you just send me that information in an email? Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Caputo, Surf Avenue. I have two things, Mayor. What is the status of the Mediterranean project?
Right now, they're just doing due diligence with the state of New Jersey to see if they can build what they're proposing. So, especially with that, the garage, the way it's configured, they're checking with DOT and CAFRA to make sure that they can do what they want to do.
Okay, thank you.
So, I'm sure they'll be reporting back to us shortly.
Okay. I have something else. Can someone check the thermostats in this room?
Oh, yes.
We're fine here for a council meeting, but when you're here for zoning and planning board, somewhere around, unless someone's done it already, somewhere around 8, Tom's laughing because he knows. Somewhere around 8:30, the air conditioning starts cranking in here and it's awful. By 10 o'clock, it's freezing in here. Ask him, Tom was there.
I'll try to keep you awake.
I feel like I'm in a bar and it's closing time. So something's wrong. One of the gentlemen on the board was wearing 2 sweatshirts. One of the women told me she was freezing the whole time. You can't even think when it's so, please, I'm sorry, being cold is so uncomfortable when we can't.
We have the superintendent right here.
Oh, is that your job?
So, yes, we will look at the thermostat.
Something happens at that point. Okay.
What time do you think it is?
I think around 8:30. By 10 o'clock, it's freezing in here. I see we're comfortable now.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Okay. Okay. And while we're here, at recycling, that big brown bag that we put brush into, can that go in the brush bin?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, Tom. Kyle, you have your hand up? Yeah.
Rosatello, 14th Avenue in Belmar.
The Foundation Clock event was very well put together, and I was glad that we were handed out forms so that we can have blocks put down with names and whatever it is we'd like to have put on them. And we dropped ours off at the borough that next day. Good job getting the grant, helping to get that grant for the fire company. Eddie, you had mentioned that the Scott packs are already here.
Well, no, they're going to be, we just got the grant, so Ryan DeLay is working on putting it over.
Okay, so the Scott packs, hoses and everything that's going to be included with the grant?
That's what they're buying.
Okay.
All
great.
protective gear for the fire department.
Okay, good. And the new truck, along with some of the first aid rigs, are going to be going into the new building on 12th Avenue when it's complete.
Yes.
Okay. And the new building will have a second floor, a meeting room,
They're going to have a meeting area, not a second floor.
Not a second floor, but a meeting area and first floor, so
Well,
possibly.
there's 2 floors. There's going to be one lower basement for meetings and one upper.
Okay, and on the first floor, there'll be a possible area for maybe in the future, some senior events?
Yeah, those rooms are going to be used all the time, so we can put them in there, of course we're going to.
Okay. Question, the water tower, it's been painted white. When is it going to be completed to have Belmar's logo put back up there?
You're talking about the ground storage water tank? Right now, we're also doing a full survey of all our infrastructure water system, and that includes the elevated tank.
Oh, good. Okay.
So there's a lot of things that have to get done. I know cosmetically, we would love to have that, but there's a lot of violations that we have to make sure that we don't get in order to have a thorough infrastructure plan. So would I love to have it painted tomorrow? I would, but it's all about financing and doing it the right way because the infrastructure has to be secure before we.
Of course, understand.
You know,
and we're also working on new systems anyway, correct?
everything, the roadway system, sewer lines,
Everything, right? Because I know that we are in the process of that. Since the summer is over, how long will lifeguards and when will lifeguards be on duty?
Technically, it ended now. Technically, it ended now. We'll have a skeleton crew down there, but technically, as far
Like
as...
most likely weekends, Nate, would you think lifeguards will be around?
They'll be around, they'll be cleaning up, and they'll be on this weekend for the autism beach bash and surfing competition, but yeah, they're winding down now, just cleaning up.
Someone did ask me how long do I think the lifeguards are going to be there, and I said, I don't know, I'll find out.
Yeah.
16th Avenue and L Street, if you're on the northwest corner, there's a huge Christmas tree, and it's blocking the view of traffic going east on 16th Avenue. My husband and I were at that corner and just about got creamed trying to get onto 16th. Of course, the person that was coming east on 16th was flying. Is there any way we can get that resident on 16th and...
Oh, there's going to be an address, we'll take care of it.
Okay. The corner of 14th and K, the one-way arrow is completely covered. The Westport Association, I know that that's their property, but they've got all those shrubs are growing. You don't even see the one-way arrow. You don't even see it. And all the shrubs are overgrowing over the sidewalk again.
Again, we'll sit down and
Yeah, they need to get that maintained. And since everybody seems to fly through that K Street and 14th Avenue stop sign, and it's there for a reason, because it used to be a through street. However, there's a lot of kids on that 14th Avenue, and it is a good idea that that stop sign stays there. When they repaint it, is there any way that we can get them to paint on the street, stop across the whole 14th and K Street, just put stop across the whole thing?
Of course.
Because I was thinking, well, maybe they could put another stop sign where the one-way sign is. Because everybody looks at the one-way sign, but nobody looks at the stop sign that's on K Street. The yellow that's painted on K Street, since it's a one-way now, it was logical that it was painted yellow from, I'd say, between 13th and 14th. 3/4 of the way is okay, and then that last quarter, half of that block is all yellow. And that was logical when it was a two-way, because there was no way you're going to get traffic. If you had cars parked there, you couldn't get traffic going in either direction. Is there any way that that yellow can be like lightened up a little bit and make it a little bit more parking? Not all the way to 14th, not all the way to the corner, but like another parking spot or two?
The traffic unit's going to, for the police department's going to have to take a look at that.
Okay.
That's not our...
Okay. I know there's not much you can do about this, but the electric bikes, when we were driving south on Ocean Avenue, there were 5 kids on electric bikes going south on Ocean Avenue in the northbound lane, heading right head-on. It was 8 o'clock at night to the cars. The cars were swerving all over the place not to hit these kids on these electric bikes.
You're going to have to, when that happens, call the police department, and if they're in the area, they can take care of it. That's what's going to have to happen.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, senior building is owned and operating by the housing authority, correct?
Yes.
Not the Belmar Borough? Is there any way you can get information to them, maybe because of the incident with the electric? maybe they could look into getting a generator for the building?
You want
So I can address that. So the building is owned by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And one of the challenges the administration has is creating an adequate reserve budget to keep the systems in top working order. In the particular instance that you were talking about, we reviewed with the residents tonight, actions that have been taken over the last 5 years for public safety and maintenance issues. But just so happened that the generator, when the power went out, also failed. And that is why the elevator.
So they do have a generator?
Yes, and that is why the elevators did not work. When the Office of Emergency Management, the town was notified, they responded immediately to address the situation. But at that point, the elevator company, who was called as soon as the elevators failed, was there and had the part they needed to repair it. However, I will share with you that, as frustrating as it is to work with HUD, particularly on getting them to fund replacing outdated equipment, the borough immediately reached out to Congressman Smith via letter, see if there are any ARPA funds available or other emergency funds to replace the generator there with a generator that will power the whole building, including residence apartments,
Right.
not just the elevators and common areas. So that is going on in conjunction with the administrator of the Belmar Housing Authority having a company come in on Monday to give a quote to replace the generator and getting other quotes as well. So personally, I would like to see, I don't think a generator just to power common areas and the elevators for a building like that is sufficient. It may have met the HUD requirements, it probably still meets the HUD requirements, but it's not enough for the people who live in there.
Right.
And I believe we should have a generator in that building. When the power fails, should power the whole entire complex, period, end of story.
The whole building, correct.
Yep.
I mentioned this in the last meeting, and I'm going to mention again that things change, times change, improvements are needed. However, things won't and can't change overnight. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes research, it takes knowledge, it takes education. You can't make decisions when you're angry. You have to stay calm, you have to think clearly, you have to research everything, along with knowing, and it takes time, patience, persistence, along with knowledge of the laws, the rules, and the codes and approvals. So I understand, I've been here for 66 years in this town, and I have seen some major changes. There's some things that, you see an old building, oh, that looks cool, it's old, but it's falling apart, it's dangerous, it has to go. The things that you are changing and improving and approving to have done are doing improvements for the town and for the safety of the residents. And I just want to tell you that I think that changes have to be made. There are some improvements that have to happen, and like I said, the 66 years I've been here, this town has always had a parking problem, whether it's summer or winter. It's always had a parking problem. So when people complain, oh, Belmar is so overloaded with cars, well, when I was a kid, you didn't have a vehicle. You borrowed your parents if you were lucky. Now, every kid that turns 17 in a household gets a car. So there's multiple vehicles now per residence, so we have a lot more traffic, a lot more cars, and a lot less parking available in town. So it's not just a summer thing, and the people that complain, oh, Belmar's so crazy in the summertime, well, it's a resort town, and it's a great town to come to. And look at all the boat slots, or the slits where they're full. You have, what, a waiting list now? Instead of having a landing, now there's a waiting list. So that tells you right there that, well, evidently, things are being done the right way. So it just takes patience, persistence, and research, and I think you should just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, April. Oh, Kyle. Marcia, do you want to just raise that microphone for me?
Tom Boger, 529 behind, 527 8th Avenue. And I was working my way from the Shillelagh Club over to my address on 8th Avenue. And I noticed a couple things. One, whatever was done to the front of the elementary school, whoever did that, it looks great. And I like to pat them on the back.
That's Justin Marsh, the custodian. He's in charge of
Is
that.
that right? Yeah, it looks great, it does. And the clock, I thank you for that. I don't have to go to Spring Lake to see what time it is. And a little more seriously, I'm concerned about what's recently, what things have been said at the senior center. And I might have missed something in the beginning of the meeting, but I do want us to make sure that we take care of the seniors. Guess what? I'm one. So I appreciate it. And I do have a question. I looked on our website. I didn't see who was responsible for the senior center. I know it's a federal facility, but can you tell me?
There's an oversight board that's appointed by the mayor and council, and then for day-to-day operations, there's a building executive director, housing manager, and then a superintendent who lives in the building. So there's two staff, and then there's a secretarial support staff as well.
So who is responsible for taking care of what has been told? I don't hear it secondhand. I mean, who is charged with fixing it?
There's well, ultimately, the executive director of the housing authority is responsible for ongoing
And the
maintenance.
executive director is who?
Is Paul DeSantis,
Oh,
and then he works with, then he has a on-site superintendent who works with him very closely on maintenance issues as well.
I know Paul very well, and he seems like a really straight-up guy. I'm just surprised, you know, that conditions have gotten to where they are. I'm wondering, like, have you noticed anything yet, or are you studying it? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, just recently I can review some highlights with you that he shared with the residents at the meeting that occurred over the past few years. But security cameras were installed in the building. They're monitored to ensure that resident safety near each entrance. LED lights were installed in the parking lot so that they're brighter to ensure safety in that area. The parking lot was repaved, the roof was replaced, energy efficient windows were added in the community room, air conditioning was installed on the first floor, the floors on the first floor were refinished, and they replaced all the cable in the building, so residents had greater access to broadband access, and the laundry room was renovated. There is more that needs to be done, and primarily the siding, actually the whole building, the brick face is leaking. That needs to be replaced. An engineering study has been done on that, and we were supposed to have a presentation tonight that there was some kind of a conflict with scheduling to replace the brick face. And as Paul reported in our meeting this evening, you know, the elevator company has reported that the elevators, although they're serviced once a month and have gotten the papers and signed off on, you know, they're now saying that it's probably time to replace the control panels and some other aspects of the elevator. So that's two elevators. There's a resident elevator and a service elevator. So that's ongoing, as well as an evaluation of the emergency generator, which the town is working collectively with Paul and his team, with Congressman Smith, to see if there are ways that we can exceed the HUD guidelines and get an emergency generator in that building that will power more than just some common areas. Yeah. So, those are just some highlights of some of the things.
Mr. McCracken, was the generator, was the generator installed recently, or, no, I mean, I'm trying to rack my memory on, was there a generator put in recently?
Yeah, I don't
Or
know what
not?
year that was put in. I don't know.
Pardon?
I don't know what year the generator was put in.
56 years old.
I didn't hear that. What was that?
It was 56 years old, the generator. 56.
56? Yeah.
And it only powers the common area, and that's one of the issues, and that's why.
What powers the elevators?
With the partial power with the elevators, we burnt them out with partial power, so that's why, as soon as we found out about it, we sent OEM over there to assist. Elevator company has to replace the panels, but like Mr. McCracken said, we, on the direction of the mayor and council, we've notified Congressman Smith's office to see if we can get some funding and grant to move forward and try to get.
That's surprising to me, but maybe not to you, Ed, but that a emergency generator doesn't work.
The problem with that whole building is electric.
Yeah.
And the generator they put in so many years ago is not up to where it should be. Of course, federal housing, gotta get the money to do so.
So you've been asking for money to fix the elevator?
That's a separate governing body, that's the Belmar Housing Authority. They have an ongoing maintenance contract, a monthly maintenance contract with the elevator company. But this power failure and some other failures that happened as a result of it have resulted in the building manager, the executive director, to say the elevator company, we really need to be more proactive in getting these elevators modernized and up to date. You know, it's frustrating. Look, when things like this happen, you know, people are affected and no one likes it. And it's easy to politicize an issue like this or sit around and point fingers and say, was this person's fault or that person's fault. The fact of the matter is, you know, no one wants anything like this to ever happen again. And, you know, when systems like this happen, we're hoping that it jars HUD to be more proactive and allocate money so that these older systems can be updated. I mean, it's crazy that these systems are put together like this.
Please don't take this as criticism of what you folks are doing.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's
you're
just
really trying to fix the problem.
It's
but
very.
I think you, like me, would kind of sit back and say, you know, what have these guys been doing that we're being paid to keep the generator efficient? I have a generator outside, and they come every 6 months, and they check it out, and more than I knew what to do. Yeah. And wouldn't you be asking yourself that?
I can tell you this, I can assure you that a deep dive is being taken into looking at absolutely every one of these, at this entire circumstance, and every one of these systems for sure.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I think Belmar is a great town. I love it. We live here, my wife and I, Rosemary. And you guys are trying to make it even better, so I appreciate that.
Yeah,
and I thank you for your efforts.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
Thanks, Tom.
again, did I say the clock looks great?
Anyone else? All right.
Can I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
All in favor?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out.